Employees of Ike, what are some of the worst family meltdowns you have seen? Dude didn't have a receipt to return a used duvet and foretold no. He threw a fit. Security came and he wouldn't move. Cops came and he finally did. Bud came right back in and laid on the floor screaming, refusing to leave without his money. Bigger cop comes in, not taking any of this guy's shit, and handcuffs him. His screaming intensifies to a loud shriek and he's finally escorted out. This whole ordeal lasts about half hour. I've got tons of these. Ike customers are ducked. An older gentleman in our bath department ranting about how cheap the furniture is, banging on things, etc. Tried to slam a drawer but it's oft closed on him. Oops, your tantrum was foiled by quality furniture. I work at a massive Ike store in Australia. For a lot of people it's their first time in Ike, so by the time they get to my section they start to panic, because they aren't used to the maze-like layout. There are a lot of breakdowns. Usually small children who want to go home. Seriously, there's so many parents wandering around with their 5-year-olds at 9 PM on a school night. Go home. Anyway, the most memorable breakdown I dealt with was when I was working in home organization. This man marched up to me, phone in hand and family in tow. He wants to buy a certain clothes rack, but he can't find it anywhere in this stupid store. Alright mate, I'm happy to help you out. Although I'm not liking the attitude, he shows me a picture on his phone. A screenshot from a website with no context. I haven't seen that clothes rack before. Either it's very new, very old, or not something that we stock. I ask if he knows the name of it. No, that's your job. He's getting even more worked up now. But I can't search with just an image. I check our store's website and I can't find the damn clothes rack anywhere. I ask if he was sure he looked at store location's website specifically. Not all Ikes stock the same stuff. Shocking, I know. Immediately I can tell he feels insulted. Of course he looked at the right website. I activate dumb sales girl mode and ask him to show me. He pulls up the website and there is a clothes rack. Quite clearly on target.com. AU. He notices and storms off wordlessly. I got immense pleasure watching him get lost and do a couple loops through the store before finding the exit. I worked at Ike for 5 years selling sofas. One of my coworkers, let's call him Jim, worked evenings and weekends in returns, while his day job was teaching math at a local high school. One day a woman comes to the counter trying to return some pillows. Generally speaking, they didn't take returns on pillows for sanitary reasons. She also didn't have a receipt and the pillows were clearly used and absolutely disgusting. Jim tells the customer that he's sorry, but our return policy states we only accept products within 30 days of purchase, with the receipt, and unused in the original packaging. This did not sit well with her, and she began to scream at Jim. She was spiteful and cruel. Jim had come to the US from another country years ago, and while he spoke perfect English, still had an accent. She mocked his accent and told him to speak English. She repeatedly shouted that he was stupid and would never amount to anything. He was too dumb to get a real job, etc. Meanwhile, her teenage son is in the background. He's pleading with his mother to stop shouting at Jim. He's begging her to give it up so they can go home. Eventually she turns around to shout at her son and ask him why he cares so much. That's my calculus teacher. There had already been a parent-teacher night scheduled for a few weeks later. His father went alone. I used to work in Ike in my student days, the Glasgow, Scotland store. When it was newly opened, an elderly Irish guy and his wife stopped me and asked where Ike was. I explained that they were in Ike and they couldn't understand. They had arrived at the ferry port in Ireland that morning and decided that they'd go on a day trip to somewhere they hadn't been before. When they arrived at the port in Scotland, there was a dedicated Ike bus. They thought Ike was an actual place in Scotland and didn't realize it was a shop. I walked away trying not to piss myself laughing as I could hear them blaming each other for the mistake. I did a stint doing early morning, 5 AM start, replenishment at Ike one summer. I was stocking a bin in the warehouse at opening time, so I had a view of the guy going over to open the gate at the front of the store to release the hordes right at 9 o'clock. The time comes, he flips the switch, the gate starts rising, and as soon as it's high enough this woman ducks under it and begins all but running across the store. That's when I realize her kids, who looked like they were about 3 to 5, frantically chasing her flat out just to try and keep up, made me kind of sad. 2 words. Black Friday. It was 9:55. We opened at 10. We were almost done. All that we had left to do was put out some children's kitchen set. What we didn't realize was that it was 50% off. I only had 2 pallets left to put out when the store opens and the horde came. They were crazy. Sprinting, pushing, and shoving. They fought to get to these kitchens, and when they noticed my pallets, they tore them open and took it. Eventually one woman started screaming and attacked the guy who took the last one off of the pallet, not noticing the 2 full pallets. I had to pull her off him and security came. After about 10 minutes the chaos ended, and I cleaned up. At the point an elderly couple came and asked if there were any kitchens left, and I put one in their cart as my coworkers laughed at what had just occurred. IKEA employee here was organizing some products as I noticed an elderly couple, approximately 60s, walking past me. The man stops and comments on a rug, saying it's nice. The wife replies that won't fit in our home. The guy immediately growls back, "Oh come on, we both know what this is about. You think I'm stupid? I'll show you stupid." He then grabs the rug and angrily stomps off. The lady just kept walking as if nothing had happened. Edit. Since some have commented about my use of the word elderly, I agree that 60s aren't elderly. I guess old would been a better word to use. I was in the Vancouver IKEA, and they have a children's play area that was packed. There must have been 100 kids in there, some being watched from outside, and some completely unattended. Without warning, the power went out. There were emergency lights, but the play area was still quite dark. The kids all started shrieking and crying and running around in the darkness. The power probably only out for 2 minutes, but the chaos was spectacular. When the lights came back on, it looked like a battleground. Some kids were bruised and bloodied, some had the 1,000-yard stare of a war veteran. There were a few who had bonded together in the tunnels and refused to leave. Some were missing entirely. They must have escaped in the shadows into the well-furnished maze that is IKEA. The meatballs were good too. Overall 1010, but the bar was set high, and no future visits could compare to that eventful day. It wasn't exactly a meltdown, but I was looking at sheets once in IKEA. A young couple was checking them out as well, and the guy motions towards the black sheets and says, "Honey, what about those ones?" She replies at normal conversational volume, "Not those ones. Sperm stains will really stand out and everyone around does a double take and develops very bad coughs. I've never seen somebody become so red in public before." Not a family, but relevant I think. I work in the bistro area and I once had a customer scream and threaten a coworker when he was told he couldn't get a cup for water. We only have 1 cup in the bistro. It cost $1 and is counted as inventory, so we can't give them out for free. When my coworker told the guy this, he flipped out, said IKEA is pure shit and we are operating illegally by not providing him water. We aren't. There's a water fountain to the right. He begins to call my coworker a piece of shit, approaches me and asks for a cup. I tell him the same thing, which only angers him further. Once I point out the water fountain nearby, he says he won't use it because he isn't a peasant and says he'll come back to deal with me and my coworker for trying to profit off his dehydration. Needless to say, I never saw him again, and my coworker and I shared a good laugh. I work in IKEA food. I had one guy claim that he was a big guy and wanted me to put extra food on his plate. After I made the plate, I explained that I can't as we have to stick to a portion size and that he could add a side plate for $1.99. He then yelled that we are all cheapskates, stormed off to his family, brought all the plates of food that we made for them, and told us that he is going to bring his family somewhere good. I used to work at IKEA and have so many stories from there. I think a memorable one wasn't a family fighting, but it was 2 women fighting over my service. I was helping one customer and it was a super busy weekend, so I'm sure all the employees were pretty busy. As I was helping her, another woman came up and interrupted us. They started arguing, and one of them called the other woman a cow. We needed a new mattress. My now wife insisted that we pay the $99 for delivery. I was adamant that I could get it home on the roof rack. I strapped the mattress to the roof of the car, ratchet straps across all four corners. Methodica wasn't going anywhere. We get in the car and opt to take surface streets home instead of taking the highway. Everything's going great, but there is one stretch where the speed limit is 50 miles per hour. We are driving along and a big truck flies by, and immediately after it passes us, I see the mattress fly off the car in the rear view mirror. Holy duckine sheet, I'm backing up on the road and come to the mattress. I did do a fantastic job strapping it to the roof rack. Problem is that the mattress took the roof rack with it. It's still tied to the mattress. We hoist it back on the roof and take it slow to a gas station. Restrap the mattress, straps going through the car this time, and get it home. There's a small cut on the underside of the mattress and some gravel in the protective plastic cover. Otherwise, no real harm done. My wife still brings it up every time we go to IKEA, so we are paying for delivery, right? Edit also, since the roof rack got ducked up and surprisingly didn't damage the car, I called Yakima. They recommended not carrying stuff like mattresses fluid for that very reason, but they did replace the roof rack for free. I'm a cashier. There was a bratty teenager and her mom about to pay for their over $1,000 transaction, and the mom suddenly said, "You know what? This girl here doesn't deserve any of this. Put it all back." I've never seen a teenager completely lose it until that shift. I feel bad for my coworker who had to do my go backs. Super late to thread and not an employee, and also this wasn't my own family, but I think it counts. I went to IKEA last year with two friends of mine, a husband and wife, who own a pickup truck and could haul stuff. I needed exactly two things, a desk and an office chair, and they were just going to look around while I shopped. I walked into the store, picked out a desk and a chair, and wrote the numbers down. In and out of the office section in 90 seconds. Too late. Their attention had already been grabbed, and they spent the next 20 minutes discussing potential couches, chairs, dressers, beds, etc. All of which culminated in my friend saying the single worst thing he could have said in the moment. "This will be such a pain to move. We are moving. Why are we moving? You know I've always wanted to move to Colorado. Then why did I just leave a job I loved for the more permanent job here? Holy shit." The floodgates were opened. What followed was no less than a 15-minute screaming argument in the midst of IKEA, which continued through the warehouse, through the checkout line, and into the parking lot. The argument started over him wanting to move and her wanting to stay, but quickly progressed to jobs, school, families, children, and ended when she snatched the keys from his hand, screamed a torrent of obscenities at both of us, and drove off. If you've never had to call someone to come pick you up with a couple of boxes because your friend just got divorced in the middle of an IKEA parking lot and your ride drove off, I can't recommend it. Desk still holds up, though. A guy came in and wanted something that we only had in the air, so it would require a forklift to get the product down, which we don't do with people in the store for fairly obvious safety reasons. I told him we could get it down right after the store closed for him, but that was not an acceptable answer. He proceeded to lose his shit on me, demanding I bring out a forklift and take it down now. As this is happening, his wife and two small children walk up. I say, "Well sir, just imagine that your children are in the aisle when the forklift comes out and an accident occurs. Your children could be crushed by a falling pallet, the arms of the lift, or any other number of possibly fatal incidents." His response, "I don't give a shit about that. I just want you to get my ducking table." I didn't have to continue the conversation. His wife took care of it.